اللهم صل. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف خلقه وخاتم أنبيائه وسيد رسله سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المطهرين المكرمين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام عليك سيدي ومولاي يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلوات. قال الله العظيم في كتابه الكريم وهو أحسن القائلين وأصدق الصادقين: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإن من شيعته لإبراهيم. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the purification of the souls, the enlightening of the hearts, for the acceptance of the deeds, and for the hastening of the reappearance of the awaited Saviour, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, enlighten your souls and the atmosphere with the recitation of salawat upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Respected elders, sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. This is a term that's given to a group of people who have indeed claimed the following of the family of the Holy Prophet. It's a term of a group of people that have survived despite attacks and persecution, but at the same time, they must exhibit certain qualities, characteristics, as detailed when it comes to the group of individuals they are following and seeking lessons from the 10th of Muharram as exemplars. The Shia of the Ahl al-Bayt is a term given to millions today who claim to follow the Holy Prophet and his holy, pure, immaculate progeny, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim ajma'een. Through rough estimates, the Shia make up 20% of the Muslim world today. And the idea that emerges is that from the early onset of the religion of Islam, the Shia have existed. Till now, there are people who come forward and say that the presence and the fact that we see Shia all around the planet in itself is a miracle, due to the existence of animosity and hatred, due to the fact that they have been fought, persecuted, oppressed. They were at the receiving end of much injustice throughout the last 1400 years. Yet without a shadow of a doubt, the Shia today are known more than ever before. You look around the world today, when you ask non-Muslims and non-Muslims, the term Shia arguably is recognized more than ever before. The Shia today have a presence, despite the continuous attacks that are still happening. Like, for example, the attack that happened last night outside Muscat in Oman, whereby 4 of our brothers, Shia brothers, lovers of the Ahl al-Bayt, were slaughtered after attending the majalis of the Imam alayhi salam, and tens were injured. And I saw a video that has not circulated, in which the perpetrator said, "Tonight I will show you and I will punish you for being mushrikeen." And he went and started to riddle the individuals who are attending the majalis of Imam alayhi salam with bullets. I ask you today, when you look around the world, you find the presence of Shia in so many of these countries. Despite the fear that sometimes exists with having that label, despite the scores of people that have been killed, especially the last 20 or 30 years, you'll find that, for example, like yesterday when the attacks took place, you'll find people all standing strong and saying one thing: Labbayk ya Hussain. There is no doubt about the presence and the passion and the commitment that these followers of the Ahl al-Bayt have to the cause. They are being slaughtered, yet at the same time, they call out the name of an individual who is an inspiration to them. I remember one particular terrorist who was caught in Iraq, who was an individual who would blow himself up, one of the Daesh terrorists, was told, "How did you find the Shia that you would constantly kill?" He said, "The Shia baffled me. I can never understand them. When we separate their head from their body continues to walk towards Karbala." And the idea that many a times we see this resolve and commitment from the followers of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhum salam, which is quite evident. That's why when you come to the Shia in itself, there is a recognition that indeed they have been praised by the Holy Prophet and the Ahl al-Bayt alayhum salam. There are some wonderful narrations that exist that highlight the status of those who display and exhibit the qualities that the Ahl al-Bayt want them to exhibit. The Holy Prophet, Rasul al-A'zam Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, in a number of references towards the non-Shia, our brothers Ahlus Sunnah have narrated this. For example, Al-Hakim and Hasakani in his Mustadrak, you find Allama Tabari as well as Allama Hafiz Jalaluddin As-Suyuti. He comes forward and says that the Prophet of Islam was asked, when it comes to the Quran, there is an ayah in the Quran in Surah Al-Bayyinah, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمْ خَيْرُ الْبَرِيَّةِ. Those who are believers and do righteous deeds are the best of the people. جَزَاؤُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ. They will obtain the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of paradise, underneath which rivers flow. Then the Quran says, رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with Allah. The Holy Prophet is asked in non-Shia sources, Ya Rasulullah, who are these people? He says, Ya Ali, hum anta wa shi'atuka yawm al-qiyamah radhina mardiyin. Ya Ali, these people are you and your Shia on the day of judgment. You are pleased with Allah and Allah is pleased with you. This is a recognition that emerges that the term Shia was something that the Prophet of Islam would refer to and indeed would praise, because after the return of the commander of the faithful from Khaybar, the riwayah says the Holy Prophet of Islam looked at him and said, Ya Ali, if I don't fear that people will do to you what the Christians did to Jesus, I would have said something about you that would have made people take the soil from under your feet. Walakin, but I will still say something. Hasbuka annaka minni wa ana mink. It's sufficient for people to know you are from me and I am from you. Then he says, wa shi'atuka ala manabira min nurin fil jannati wa hum jirani. And your Shia, O Ali, are on elevated places in paradise on the day of Qiyamah, and they are my neighbors. The recognition, therefore, is there is a special status reserved for the Shia of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhum salam. And today, non-Shias and non-Muslims have recognized this. For example, a well-known Sunni scholar by the name of Sheikh Adnan Ibrahim came forward and said that we must be grateful to these people, because if it wasn't for the Shia, today nobody would know anything about the family of the Prophet. They would be erased from history. If it wasn't for the commemoration in Ashura, if it wasn't for their remembrance in Ghadir, you will not find people knowing anything about Ali Muhammad. Hence, a Christian non-Muslim comes forward who is an Arab poet. He comes forward, his name is Paul Salama. He says, لا تقل شيعة هوات علي إن في كل منصف شيعية. He says, don't say Shia are the ones who only love Ali. Because in every community, if you have those who have intellect, they must be Shia. Then he says, جلجل الحق في المسيح حتى عد من فرط حبه علوية. He says the truth, the Christian can see the truth. He is in love so much so that he is being called Al-Alawi. Then he says, فيا سماء اشهدي ويا أرض خري واخشعي إنني ذكرت عليا. O heavens, be witness. O earth, tremble. I have remembered the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Therefore, Christians, non-Muslims, others have come to indeed praise the followers of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salam. Tonight, as we remember the 10th of Muharram, as we are here gathering in order to mourn the tragedy of Sayyid al-Shuhada, Aba al-Ahrar, Aba Abdullah al-Hussain, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. There is a need to ask an important question, and that is, given so much praise that exists when it comes to the words and the utterance of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salam regarding a person who is called Shi'i, what are the features and characteristics of a person who labels themselves the Shia of Ali? But specifically regarding Sayyid Shuhada, how do I know that I am a true Shia of Hussain? Meaning, has Sayyid Shuhada said anything regarding his Shia specifically? What is his message for you and I tonight as we have gathered to remember the tragedy? Because without a shadow of a doubt, there must exist qualities, characteristics and signs. Anybody today can say, I am one of the Shia, can claim that I am one of the lovers or those who follow the family of the Holy Prophet, especially as the Quran mentions the term Shia at least twice in reference to the idea that it means a follower or the partisan. For example, regarding Lut, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِنَّ مِن شِيعَتِهِ لَإِبْرَاهِيمَ, that amongst his followers were Ibrahim alayhi salam. Regarding Musa alayhi salam, when he goes to see two people fighting, he will indeed look at them, he will find one of them, هَذَا مِن شِيعَتِهِ وَهَذَا مِن عَدُوِّهِ. The Quran says one of them was amongst his Shia and another was his enemy. Hence, there is a need to discuss this subject by answering the following questions. Number one, can we derive some important qualities of the Shia, of the Ahl al-Bayt, from the statement of each of the 14 Ma'sumin? Number two, is that too difficult? Is that something that causes despondency when I hear all these attributes that the Ahl al-Bayt have said that you must have in order for you to be a Shia? Is that something that puts us off? Should we just give up and say there is no way I can reach those levels or not? Number three, very importantly and specifically, what has Sayyid al-Shuhada said regarding the Shia? In specific terms referring to the Shia, and in general terms when it comes to his Sahaba, the qualities that they indeed exhibited during the days leading to Ashura and on the day of Ashura, when they sacrificed their lives in honor of Islam and in defense of the family of the Holy Prophet, inspired by Sayyid al-Shuhada, Aba Abdullah al-Hussain, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Very interestingly, when it comes to the description of a group of people, there is no doubt that most of us would want to look at something which is a sign. I remember one of the ulama once sat on the minbar and looked at the congregation. Before he started, he said, when children go to school, they normally have exams and tests. Is there a way that I can test you all? So they said to him, Maulana, I don't know. Do you want to put us through a test? He said, Allah is mentioned, my heart becomes indifferent. Yet after a few seconds, my heart began to tremble. And I went into sajda grateful to Allah that I passed this test. The recognition that emerges is, as individuals who claim to be the Shia, let's seek some inspiration from the 14 Ma'sumin. And for the first time, I'm going to mention a hadith from each of the 14, which is a description of the qualities of the Shia. Requires your patience, but believe me, it's worth it. If you could take one of those hadiths, one out of the 14, in order to apply it into on your own life, that without a shadow of a doubt places happiness in their hearts, because they have detailed these qualities and attributes for you and I to be able to indeed learn from them. The Holy Prophet Rasul Al-A'zam Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, in one incident, an individual came to him and said, Ya Rasulullah, there is a man who keeps looking at the women of his neighbors, and if he had a chance, he would commit haram with them. So the Prophet of Islam says, وَقَالَ إِيتُونِي بِهِ, bring him, I need to speak to him. فَقَالُوا, they said, إِنَّهُ مِنْ شِيعَتِكُمْ, he is from your Shia. Notice that anyone who says Shi'ism started later has not looked at these riwayat objectively, in the recognition that the Prophet of Islam would mention the group of Shia many a times. He would say, bring him. They said, he is amongst your Shia. The Prophet of Islam said, what do you mean? They said, إِنَّهُ مِنْ شِيعَتِكُمْ مَنْ يَعْتَقِدْ بِمُوَالَاتِكُمْ وَمُوَالَاتِ عَلِي وَيَتَبَرَّأُ مِنْ أَعْدَائِكُمَا. Ya Rasulullah, he is from your Shia. Why? He has spoken out in favor of Ali, and he distances himself from your enemies. He does wilaya and does tabarri. So the Prophet of Islam says, لا تقل إنه من شيعتنا. Don't ever say he is from our Shia. فإنه كذب. He's not from our Shia. Why? إن شيعتنا من شيعنا وتبعنا في أعمالنا. A true Shia of ours are the ones who follow us and are obedient when it comes to what we say to them that they must do. It's interesting that our ulama, such for example, such as Sheikh Al-Saduq, has authored a book by the name of Sifatu Shia, the characteristics of the Shia. Alhamdulillah, it's available online and it's translated to English. Likewise, if you look at Mizanul Hikmah, there is a chapter on the qualities of the Shia. Many of the reference books today will give you these particular qualities. When it comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. This riwayah is also found in Al-Kafi. He says, amongst a number of narrations in which he describes how people can decipher if someone is a true Shi'i, he says they have 7 qualities. Shi'atuna al-mutabadhiluna fi wilayatina. Our Shia never become weakened or give up in the cause of our wilayah. Al-mutahabbuna fi mawaddatina. They are the ones who love each other because they love us. Al-mutazawiruna fi ihya'i amrina. They are the ones who take part in the commemoration of our affairs, and they see each other when doing so. When I was looking at this, I remembered one thing. I am one of the very few, probably going to be extinct, speakers in the Muslim world, in the Shia world, who does not like live broadcast. Why? Because I am fearful in 20, 30 years' time, we have our youth sitting on Thursday nights and the wilada of the 10th Imam, not Ashura, and they're watching the majlis with the popcorn. Maulana, I'm enjoying. That is where the Imam says, you are attending a majlis, and wallah, each of these riwayah requires a majlis by itself. But I'm just throwing it out there for inspiration on a night like this. Imam alayhi salam says they see each other when they attend our programs. Then he says what? الَّذِينَ إِنْ غَضِبُوا لَمْ يَظْلِمُوا. When they are angry, they never oppress people. وَإِنْ رَضَوْا لَمْ يُسْرِفُوا. But when they're happy, they're not extravagant. بَرَكَةً عَلَى مَنْ جَاوَرُوا. They are a source of blessing for their neighbors. وَسِلْمٌ لِمَنْ خَالَطُوا. And they are a means of peace for whomsoever they interact with. Imam alayhi salam gives these 7 qualities brilliantly. Sayyidatun Nisa, the lady of light, as-siddiqatu shahida, Fatima salawatullahi wa salamu alayha. Is approached by a lady who's told by her husband, go to Fatima and ask her am I one of your Shia or not? These riwayat are all from the references I've just mentioned. She responds, فقالت قولي له إن كنت تعمل بما أمرناك وتنتهي عما زجرناك. If you do what we have commanded you and stay away from that which we have told you to stay away, فأنت من شيعتنا وإلا فلا. You are from our Shia. Otherwise, you're not. That's whom? That's the Holy Lady of Light. Our second holy Imam, Imam Al-Mujtaba Al-Hasan, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He comes to him and says to him, a man comes to him and says, Inni min shi'atikum. Ya ibn Rasulillah, I am one of your Shia. Imam alayhi salam says, Ya Abdullah, in kunta lana fi awamirina wa zawajirina muti'an faqad sadaqt. If you're truly, now you can see a pattern. The Ahl al-Bayt are establishing one thing. He says to him, if you're truly somebody who listens to what we say and implements it in your life, then you are truthful. وَإِن كُنْتَ بِخِلَافِ ذَلِكَ فَلَا تَزِدْ بِذُنُوبِكَ. He says, but if you're not, don't make your sins more by lying and saying you're Shi'i. The holy fourth Imam, As-Sajjad Zayn al-Abidin, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Now this riwayah is quite heavy. This riwayah is not easy to digest. Someone came to him and said to him, أَنَا مِن شِيعَتِكُمُ الْخُلَّصِ. I am from your pure Shia. Now he's elevated himself a particular level. Imam alayhi salam looks at him and says, if you are like Ibrahim al-Khalil, إِذْ جَاءَ رَبَّهُ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ, and you have a heart that is pure, then you are from our Shia, if you are like that. The fifth holy Imam, Muhammad al-Baqir, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He was amongst a group of people. They said to him, oh, the grandson of the Holy Prophet, there are so many Shias. He said to them, هل يعطف الغني عن الفقير ويتجاوز المحسن عن السيء ويتواسون. Are they ones whereby the rich helps the poor and the one who has been wronged immediately forgives those that have wronged him or her? And do they visit each other, ask about each other? The people said, no, they don't. قال ليس هؤلاء الشيعة. They're not Shia if they don't do this. The sixth holy Imam, Ja'far ibn Muhammad, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He says, Ya ma'shar al-Shi'a, qad nusibtum ilayna. He says, oh, people who are called Shia, you are linked to us. كونوا لنا زينا ولا تكونوا علينا شينا. Be a source of pride for us. Don't be a disgrace for us. Why? So that رحم الله عبدا حببنا إلى الناس ولا يبغضنا إليهم. May Allah bless those amongst our followers who makes people love us because of him or her and doesn't make people hate us because of their actions. The seventh holy Imam, Babul Hawa'ij, Musa ibn Ja'far, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. A man by the name of Murazim or Mudazim, he goes to Madinatul Munawwara, visits there. At that time, they didn't have hotels, but they had houses in which visitors, like a Musafir Khana, can go and sit and maybe rest and sleep. So he went to one of them. Whilst he was there, he's coming out from that house, he saw a lady. He was impressed by this particular lady. He started to speak to her. She didn't respond. Then he went out, came back late at night, knocked on the door. She opened the door. He placed his hands to hold her. She immediately ran away. At that moment, he just went back to his room. He slept. Next morning, he saw the holy seventh Imam alayhi salam. Imam looked at him and said, Ya Murazim, laysa min shi'atina man khala walam yura'i qalbah. No one is called the Shia who is by himself and does not watch what his heart thinks and does. So the Imam knew exactly what this individual does. A group of people came for few consecutive days. They knocked on the door of whom? of As-Sultan Abu al-Hasan Ali ibn Musa al-Ridha salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. The Imam said, don't open the door for them. You've heard this story. Imam said, don't open the door for a few days because they kept saying, Yabna Rasulillah, we are your Shia. Imam says, don't open the door. Eventually, they somehow recognized that they shouldn't say. When they responded and said, we are your lovers, Imam opened the door. He said to them, Wayhakum. إنما شيعته الحسن والحسين. If you're talking about the Shia of Ali, then his true followers are Hassan and Hussein, وسلمان وأبا ذر والمقداد وعمار ومحمد بن أبي بكر. They never went against what he said, and they never committed sins publicly. If you do this, you will become Shia. And if you don't, then you are opposing the term that you are claiming. That is the 8th holy Imam. His beloved son, Imam Muhammad al-Jawad al-Taqi, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. And this story hurts. This story is not easy. Someone came to him happy. Imam was sitting. He says to him, why are you happy? He said, Yabna Rasulillah, I feel so good. He said, why do you feel so good? He said, today I had 10 poor people came to see me and I fed them all. Now I consider myself a Shi'i from your khullas Shia. Imam alayhi salam says, you have hurt me and hurt the malaika. لَقَدْ آذَيْتَنِي وَآذَيْتَ الْمَلَائِكَ. The man said, why? What have I done wrong? Imam alayhi salam quotes a verse in the Holy Quran that when you give sadaqah, don't somehow expect anything in return or be a burden. The man said, Yabna Rasulillah, I did not expect anything in return from them. I didn't ask them to give me something. Imam said, the Quran doesn't say necessarily from the people you give, from anyone that you see. The fact that you came and boasted about this in front of me and claimed you are now a pure Shi'i has hurt me. The man says, I seek pardon and I do istighfar from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what I have just done. Our 10th holy Imam, Ali al-Hadi al-Naqi, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He says, جروا إلينا كل مودة وادفعوا عنا كن قبيح. Whatever brings people to us and gets people close to us, then make sure you do. But make sure you do not associate anything that's wrong with us. And of course his son, Imam al-Askari, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He has a long hadith, I'll just mention part of it. He says, Shi'atu Ali. Who are the Shia of Ali? He says, هم الذين يؤثرون إخوانهم على أنفسهم. Are the ones who place the affairs of others more important than themselves. They are altruistic. وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصًا. And even though they need it. وَهُمُ الَّذِينَ, and mark these words, وَهُمُ الَّذِينَ لَا يَرَاهُمُ اللَّهُ حَيْثُ نَهَاهُمْ. Allah will not find them in places where Allah does not want to see them. وَلَا يَفْتَقِدُهُمْ حَيْثُ أَمَرَهُمْ. And there are places Allah wants to see them, but He will definitely see them there. وَشِيعَةُ عَلِي هُمُ الَّذِينَ يَقْتَدُونَ بِعَلِي في إكرام إخوانهم المؤمنين. The Shia of Ali are the ones who follow in the footsteps of Ali by ensuring that they are generous and kind with their brothers. And finally, the awaited Savior, صاحب العصر والزمان عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. In one of the letters that he sent, please focus on this. He says what? وَإِنَّ وَلَوْ أَنَّ أَشْيَاعَنَا وَفَّقَهُمُ اللَّهِ. I wish, he says, and I pray for my Shia. May Allah give them tawfiq. لِطَاعَتِهِ عَلَى اجْتِمَاعٍ مِنَ الْقُلُوبِ فِي الْوَفَاءِ بِالْعَهْدِ. He says, my dua for my Shia is to have one thing. Their hearts are united with each other. If, he says, this happens, لَمَا تَأَخَّرَ عَنْهُمُ الْيُمْنَ بِلِقَائِنَا. He says that when it's established, they will not be delayed when it comes to meeting me. وَلَتَعَجَّلَتْ لَهُمُ السَّعَادَةُ بِمُشَاهَدَتِنَا. They will indeed see happiness when they will meet me. The Imam alayhi salam is not saying about individual meeting with the Holy 12. He's talking about his eventual reappearance. May Allah hasten his reappearance and make us of those who are his servants. Imam alayhi salam says, it's your hearts, how you and I view each other, what exists in our hearts. Therefore, you'll find these 14 riwayat set us a number of interesting challenges. There are people who say, you have just mentioned a number of riwayat that make it incredibly difficult for you and I to be called a Shi'i, for you and I to be called a true follower of Ahl al-Bayt. Why is this so? There are 3 reasons why the Ahl al-Bayt emphasized these qualities and much, much more. One of them is what? So that no one can claim that they're Shia and does the opposite. So that the Ahl al-Bayt's reputation is not tarnished. So that Ali Muhammad would distance themselves from such actions that are not representative of them. Because today, there are many who would claim that I am Shi'i, but they may do things which would disgrace the Ahl al-Bayt, unfortunately. But the Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salam would then come and say, listen, this person claims that he is Shi'i, but does he or she have the following qualities? And therefore, I remember this beautiful story that Muhammad ibn Muslim, who is a companion and a close, devout disciple of the Holy Sixth Imam, one day, he was in Kufa, he was about to give a witness in court. So the judge looks at him and says, what's your name? He says, my name is Muhammad ibn Muslim. He said, are you Thaqafi? You're from the tribe of Thaqafi? He said, yes. He said, are you from a particular region? He said, yes. He said, are you that individual who's a Rafidi? He said, yes. He said, I will not accept your witness. I will not accept you to say anything in court. At that moment, Muhammad ibn Muslim started to cry. So the judge looks at him and says, why are you crying? It's just a testimony. You shouldn't be upset because you're not allowed to give a testimony in court. Muhammad ibn Muslim said, I'm not crying because you did not allow me to give a testimony in court. I am crying because you called me a Rafidi. I don't know if my master Ja'far ibn Muhammad has given me that title yet or not. I don't know if I'm one of those people who can be given that honor of being given that title. Notice that the first reason why Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam have given all this is to distance themselves away from those who misuse their name. The second reason is what? So that people can take the teachings of the Ahl al-Bayt from the right people. In other words, if there are qualities that they are displayed of individuals who follow the path of the Ahl al-Bayt, people will be able to learn who the Ahl al-Bayt were from these individuals. The Holy Seventh Imam says to Ibn Suwaid, لا تأخذن معالم دينك من غير شيعتنا. Don't take your religion from those that are not amongst our Shia. Meaning what? The Shia that we have defined. They will be able to display these characteristics in the best way. And number 3, very importantly, is demonstrated by this beautiful story in which Amir al-Mu'mineen is walking with Abu Dharr and Salman al-Muhammadi Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim. When he is walking, immediately he whispers something in the ears of Salman. So Abu Dharr is walking with him, all of a sudden looks at Amir al-Mu'mineen and says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I'm also here. Tell me something as well. Imam stops, looks behind and says, Abu Dharr, look how many footprints are there behind me. Abu Dharr looks, he finds his footprints and the footprints of Amir al-Mu'mineen only. Then the Imam says to him, what do you think? He says, I can see that Salman is walking exactly on the footprints of yours, Ya Ali. That is what I can see, yes? Imam is telling Abu Dharr and you and I what? There are degrees and different levels of being a Shi'i. There are what? Different ways in which we can call ourselves a Shi'i. And this is very important. Why? Because the riwayah of Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam goes on to say there are 3 levels. Please understand this, so that we can work towards the highest level. There are 3 levels that Imam al-Mujtaba says to that man who says to him, I am a Shi'i. He says to him, no. There are 3 levels that you can indeed aspire towards. The first is muhib. a lover of Ahl al-Bayt. Somebody who displays compassion towards the Ahl al-Bayt. Somebody who has a soft spot for Ali Muhammad and says, you know what? I love them. I consider them to be good people, good role models. I know them, but my association with them stops there. Meaning what? I will cry for them. I will mourn for them. Maybe, if I feel like it, I may go for ziyarah. But the rest of my life, I'm not necessarily connected with them. Why? Number one, I don't know much about them. Number two, I, as an individual, begin to dictate my life the way I see fit. Not the way Ja'far al-Sadiq or Musa ibn Ja'far or Al-Hadi or As-Sajjad say. No. I will decide. Therefore, they break laws. They practice Islam the way they want to. That's whom? A muhib. Then the second level is al-muwali. Now, this is an individual who's embraced the Ahl al-Bayt as far as love and considers them also worthy to be followed. Meaning what? He or she understands that the Ahl al-Bayt have been chosen by Allah. They are His special representatives and they deserve to be obeyed. And therefore he subscribes to wilayah. He says, I am a muwali. Which means that when it comes to the instructions of the Ahl al-Bayt, he tries or she tries, and the instructions to stay away from haram, they will do their best. However, they still struggle a lot. However, they are not careful. However, it's not their main concern. They are working towards becoming a Shi'i, which is the highest level. A Shi'i is defined by exactly these qualities that the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam have said. And I'd like to draw your attention to the riwayah of Imam Muhammad al-Baqir salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He looks at this particular individual by the name of Jabir al-Ju'fi. He says to him, أَيَكْتَفِي أَن يَنْتَحِلْ? Is it sufficient for somebody to call themselves Shi'i and they don't have the qualities of being a Shia? For Allah, then Imam swears in a hadith that's sahih. Yes? For Allah, لا من شيعتنا إلا من أطاع الله وأوامره. That our Shia are only the ones who obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Put Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. Yes? These riwayat should not be taken as a means of despondency. You shouldn't say, you know what, I'm far from that. I cannot reach that. Tonight is a night whereby the gates of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam are open. Tonight is an opportunity for you and I to embark the ship of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain. Tonight you and I may have practiced some things in our lives that we are ashamed of. Tonight we are looking for the light. Tonight we are looking for the inspiration. No doubt the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam want us to continuously work harder to implement change in our lives, transformation, introspection. To look at our practices, to look at what we do and refine them so that we can attain the loftiest position and indeed be honored to be called their Shia. That's why when it comes to Sayyid al-Shuhada, Abu Abdullah al-Hussain salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Someone asked the question, what does Abu Abdullah say about his Shia? Tonight is a special night, isn't it? That we are the Shia of Hussain. We want to know what is our master saying about us. What is it that he requires from us? Please focus on the next few minutes, because wallah, the riwayat say that he has made a number of brilliant statements regarding his Shia. For example, when Nafi' ibn Hilal came from Kufa to join the Imam alayhi salam, he told him that that Muslim ibn Aqil has been martyred. And he told him that the people, unfortunately, they have turned against you, Ya ibn Rasulullah. At that moment, Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam made a dua for the Shia. Listen to the dua. He says, Allahumma ij'al al-jannata lana. Not yet. Allahumma ij'al al-jannata lana. وَلِأَشْيَاعِنَا مَنْزِلًا كَرِيمًا إِنَّكَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. That, Ya Allah, grant paradise for us and our Shia, and grant them a special place in Jannah. This is the dua of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. In another narration, there was a great lady by the name of Habbab al-Walibiyya. Habbab al-Walibiyya is who? Please understand who she is. She is the only female and actually human being in history to have met 8 Imams of the Ahl al-Bayt. This Hababa was an individual who was honored by Allah. She met Amir al-Mu'mineen, the 2nd Imam, 3rd Imam, all the way till the 8th Imam. And she kept asking every single Imam for a sign of his Imamat. And there was a stone that was given to her by Amir al-Mu'mineen that he imprinted on his, using his ring. And she would use this stone for every other Imam who would do exactly the same thing miraculously. And she was amongst the Shia. Now, when you look at her biography, and I studied her biography, amongst the 8 Imams of the Ahl al-Bayt, the closest one and the one that she went to visit and the one that she had most interaction and learned from was Sayyid al-Shuhada, for some reason. And she narrates a lot of riwayat from Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. One of them is this, that for a while she never went to visit Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. So Imam asked, where is Hababa? Why is she not coming to learn anymore? They said, Ya ibn Rasulullah, she's sick. Imam said, bring her, it's fine. So she had a lesion. So Imam alayhi salam uses part of his saliva and he places it on the lesion and it falls on the lesion and it's cured. He says to her, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has cured you. He then what? Sees her. She goes into sajda, thanking the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. This riwayah is in Basair al-Darajat and al-Bihar of Sheikh al-Majlisi. But what is important is what he says afterwards. He looks at her and said, Ya Habbaba, you must be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because you are amongst the Shia. And he says, Ya Habbaba, nahnu wa shi'atuna ala al-fitra wa sa'iru nas minha bura. Oh Habbaba, you and I, as our Shia, we are created special from a particular creation of Allah, from the fitra, and the rest of the people are distant from it. So Abu Abdullah is highlighting what? Is highlighting at the outset the status of a Shia. Now, question, has he also defined some characteristics or not? Please pay attention because we have a number of riwayat. I will mention just one. One riwayah that someone came to him and said to him, Ya ibn Rasulillah, I am one of your Shia. I am one of the individuals who call themselves your Shia. Imam says, Ittaqillah. First of all, be God conscious. وَلَا تَدَّعِيَنَّ شَيْئًا يَقُولُ اللَّهُ لَكَ كَذِبْتَ. Who is this? Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam is saying, be fearful of Allah. Don't claim something that Allah will tell you later that you are a liar. إِنَّ شِيعَتَنَا. Now Imam says, our Shia must have 3 things. 3 things. إن شيعتنا من سلمت قلوبهم من كل غش وغل ودغل. Our Shia have a heart that, number 1, does not have ill disposition or grudge or envy or spite or hatred or venom or jealousy against others. Our Shia, number 2, will not have cheating. They will not commit fraud. Number 3, our Shia will not have daghal, wickedness or corrupt heart. What is Imam alayhi salam wanting you and I to do? Because Karbala and Ashura is a school of reform. It's an opportunity to instigate change in our lives. Here Imam alayhi salam is talking about how a Shia of Hussain is somebody who works on their heart, purifies it in terms of how they conduct themselves in society, in terms of how their relationship is with others. I remember having a discussion with His Eminence Ayatollah Sistani Hafidhahullah in one of the years where I asked him, Sayyidina, is there a message for the Shia of Ahl al-Bayt in the West? We had taken a group, so one was leaving and another was coming. I had a few minutes. I said to him, Sayyidina, what is your recommendation? He said, I am hearing from the West especially that many are fighting each other from the Shia community. Many are attacking each other. Many are saying bad things about each other. Tell them, unite your hearts. Bring your hearts together in love of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhum salam. Put your egos aside. Today, when we look at these issues in society and in our communities, for example, disputes happen. Problems with people take place, isn't it? Yes. For example, between families. For example, between friends. You'll find financial disputes. You'll find akhlaqi disputes where people, for example, will say, you did not do this or you said this. Right? There's misunderstandings that take place. For example, when there are cases of divorce. I see this on a regular basis. A husband and a wife, when they divorce, now their mission is to destroy each other's reputation in society. To speak about each other in an ill manner in front of others. I remember, wallah, one of the mu'mineen said something beautiful. Whilst he was going through the divorce process, someone came to him and said, you know, today, sadly, most of us are looking for gossip and chit-chat. Why are you breaking down? What's the problem with your wife? He said to him, what's wrong with your wife? He said, she's still my wife. I'm not allowed to say anything. So the man waited until the divorce finished. He came to him and said, now, the divorce is finished. She's no longer your wife. He looked at him and said, she's my sister in Islam. I can't say anything. Subhanallah, sometimes if we know and we are cautious, what is it that we are uttering? What is it that we are saying? The ghiba, the namima, the backbiting, the trying to place two people against each other is causing damage for you and I. It's making us distant from the vision that Imam Al-Hussain alayhi salam want for you and I. I tell you, if we become individuals who want to build, you see, when we see good things in our communities and societies, people are of four kinds. Remember this. There are individuals out there who make things happen. And there are individuals who watch things happen. And there are individuals who don't know what's happened. But there are also individuals who criticize everything that happens. I remember one of the ulama says, I was leading salah. When I finished salah, someone came to me and said to me, Maulana, your salah is batil today. Why? What did I do wrong? He said, when you did sajda, your nose was not touching the ground. So the alim looks up. Everyone's watching. He says, before I give you the ruling, I want to ask you one question. Where was your nose during this process? Meaning what? If you were praying behind me, you will not see where my nose was. But you're trying to find a problem. You're trying to create a conflict. You're a fitna monger. You're somebody who wants to stir things up in society and in the community. And that's why it's of the utmost importance as Hussainis. Imam wants us to have a pure heart, to take away that venom, to take away that hatred. I may disagree with somebody. I may not agree with their strategy. But what? At the end of the day, they are my brother and my sister. I do not make it my intention to destroy their reputation, whatever it is. And I am fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of the things I say, but also the things I post. The things I send on WhatsApp, the things I communicate online. I remember this beautiful story. Wallah, remember this story. If you've switched off, then switch back on again, because this story is truly inspirational. It's one of our ulama today. His name is Sheikh Aqil Hamdani. He's a historian, well-respected scholars. He said, he is in Karbala, he said there was a man by the name of Hajji Abu Zainab. He was a khadim of Hussein during the time of the wretched dictator Saddam. What he used to do was quietly serve the zuwar when it was forbidden. And he would bring them rugs and they would sit in the courtyard of Imam Al-Hussain alayhi salam in order to recite ziyarah, because at that time there were no rugs in the courtyard of Imam. So he would supply them with this. He was a true khadim of Imam Al-Hussain. He said, only a few years ago we were traveling together back from Karbala. On the journey, he looked at me and says, Ya Sheikh, next week Thursday I won't be here. I said to him, what do you mean? He said, I'm going to leave this world. He said, that can't be right. He said, look, I don't have knowledge of the unseen, but I'll tell you what happened to me. He said, a few nights ago, in my dream, I saw myself at the shore with loads of people. And I saw people bringing small boats with individuals wearing white, taking people onto these small boats and taking them to a ship I have never seen anything like. Huge ship, magnificent looking. So we all went. When we went up to the ship, I asked the people there, these individuals, these people wearing white, what are we? They said, this is Safinatul Hussain. This is a ship of Hussain. All these people are being bought. I was very happy. He said, all of a sudden, I saw something that broke my heart. I saw people throwing themselves from the ship towards the sea and drowning. And I went to save them. And these people wearing white came to me and said, Ya Hajji, no, don't do anything. I said, why? These people are throwing themselves from the ship of Hussain. I need to save them. I need to do something. These people said to me, don't worry, it's their choice. They have been brought to the ship of Hussain, but their actions have made them lose Hussain. They now nothing to do with Abu Abdullah. So they're throwing themselves away. And then they looked at me and said, Ya Hajji, you have been a servant of Abu Abdullah. Next Thursday you will meet Hussain. He said, when I woke up, I was thinking, is that a real dream or is that something that's not true? But Ya Shaykh, I believe in it. So I am getting ready. The Shaykh says, Wallah, after 2 or 3 days, I heard the news that he has passed away. That he has gone, yes. You and I, we want to stay in the ship of Hussain or not? You and I, we want to be honored by Abu Abdullah or not? And that's why it's of the utmost importance in these vital nights of mourning, and especially tonight, that we learn what Abu Abdullah alayhi salam wants from his Shia generally by examining the qualities of his ashab. His companions were tremendously important. But if you were to summarize some of the key aspects that emerged from the Sahaba of Hussain alayhi salam, who were praised in this brilliant way when he says, Inni la a'lam ashab awfa wala khayran min ashabi. I do not know better companions than my companions. 3 very brief deductions on us following in the footsteps of the companions who were truly the embodiment of the Shia of Hussain. Number 1, positive identity. Meaning what? They were proud to be called the Ashab of Hussain. They were offered immunity, some of them, they didn't. They would come out and say to the enemies who they were. They were not scared. They were not worried to be identified with Abu Abdullah. Today, you and I must follow in their footsteps in terms of being proud and happy to be associated with the Ahl al-Bayt. I need to tell the world I am the Shia of Ali, and I must not be apologetic about it. There are people today who tell me, why have you put on your Instagram Shia Muslim? Don't divide. Say you are Muslim. The Prophet was not Shia or Sunni, you know, the classic. Yes? No. You and I have to identify ourselves with those whom we want to latch onto. This is not about sectarianism. This is about who our identity is. This is about 1400 years of Shi'ism resisting and continuing, and will continue inshaAllah through our positive identity. One individual once told me, stop saying this. I said, why? He said, we are all Muslim. I said to him, do you travel? He said, what do you mean? I said to him, do you go to countries? He said, yes. What's that got to do with it? I said, if you go to many countries today, you give them the passport. You say, this is my passport. They say to you, where's your visa to enter? You say to them, don't discriminate. We are all human beings. We all have passports. I said to him, my passport to Jannah is Islam. My visa to Jannah is Ali ibn Abi Talib. Don't expect me to give up my visa to paradise. And therefore, this association is of the utmost importance for our children. At schools, at universities, at the workplace. There is no excuse, and I mean it. There is no excuse in the United Kingdom or in the Western world for anyone to hide the Shia identity. Be honored and be proud of the fact that you are the follower of Ali ibn Abi Talib. People before you, millions of them, laid their lives for you and I to be called the Shia of Ali. We must not take it lightly. That's the first. The second is what? The spiritual commitment of the Shia of Hussain that were demonstrated through his ashab on a night like this. Eve of Ashura. What did they do? How did they spend the night? They spent the night in what? In the recitation of the Quran, in salah, in dua, in dhikr. On the day of Ashura, Imam alayhi salam leads a jama'ah prayer in order to protect salah. Yes? If I am a true Shia of Hussain, if I am a true Shia of the Ahl al-Bayt, I recognize that my salah and my spiritual journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must not be taken lightly. Today, sometimes we approach this ritualistically as a tick list exercise. Maybe Ashura, maybe Muharram is an opportunity to revise my thinking and the way that I come across. I ask you, how many of us tonight will be reciting the Quran? But this was the practice of the Sahaba of the Imam alayhi salam. How many of us tonight who are not praying Salatul Layl will start praying Salatul Layl tonight? Tonight is the night of the Quran. Tonight is the night of Salatul Layl and dhikr. Let us not take these matters lightly. If we want to be called the Shia of Hussain, we must follow the best of the Shia of Hussain, who are the Ashab of Hussain in that particular way. And that's why Imam alayhi salam praised the individual who said it's time for salah. He said, جَعَلَكَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ. And the other thing that we must do, and the companions of the Imam did, but it was carried over by those brave individuals who were leading the caravan of martyrdom and sacrifice, is what? Is to ensure that wilayah of Ahl al-Bayt and the spreading of the religion of Islam continues. No doubt. Today, there are many opportunities for you and I to continue the mission of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Number one, not to allow oppression to go unnoticed and to be silent about it. Not to be indifferent to what's happening in Palestine and Gaza and think, you know what, I'm not really concerned about what's happening. Or anywhere else that, for example, dhulm is taking place, to ensure that the name Hussein and the message of Hussein reaches people. May Allah bless who is Hussein, this organization and many others. Do you know what they're doing? They're providing us with lots of tools. A documentary made for non-Muslims about Imam alayhi salam, posters and stuff on social media that you can share with your non-Muslim friends, cards that you can put through your neighbors and say, we are going through commemoration. Introduce people to Ali Muhammad. Hussein doesn't belong to you and I. He belongs to all of humanity, no doubt. And therefore, there is a responsibility for us to rise. And a night like this to be on the camp of Abu Abdullah. Wallah, this camp is the camp of kindness and generosity. This camp is the camp of love and compassion. I'd like you, before we go to Masa'ib, just please listen to this amazing hadith that I came across. I have never recited this hadith before. It's a hadith from Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. The hadith says, إِذَا هَلَّ هِلَالُ عَاشُورَا. On a night like this, when it's the eve of Ashura, اشتد حزنه. The sadness of the Imam alayhi salam becomes intense. وَعَظُمَ بُكَاؤُهُ عَلَى مُصَابِ جَدِّهِ الْحُسَيْنِ. And he will cry profusely for the tragedy of his grandfather Hussein. وَالنَّاسُ يَأْتُونَ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ كُلِّ جَانِبٍ. And people start to flock to him on a night like this. To whom? Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. وَيُعَزُّونَهُ بِالْحُسَيْنِ وَيَبْكُونَ. And they cry and they begin to show mourning. ثُمَّ. Then he will speak to them. He now speaks to you and I. Listen to what our Imam says on a night like this. اعلموا أن الحسين حي عند ربه يرزق. Know that Hussein is alive, attaining sustenance from his Lord. وهو دائما ينظر إلى معسكره ومصرعه. And he is always looking at where he was martyred. وَمَنْ حَلَّ فِيهِ مِنَ الشُّهَدَاءِ. Then he will also remember the martyrs that were martyred with him. Then this is what's important. يَنْظُرُ وَيَنْظُرُ إِلَى زُوَّارِهِ وَالْبَاكِينَ عَلَيْهِ وَالْمُقِيمِينَ الْعَزَاءَ عَلَيْهِ. He will also look with love and compassion towards those who are his visitors, those who shed tears for him, and those who establish majalis for him. وهو أعرف بهم وبأسمائهم وأسماء آبائهم وبدرجاتهم ومنازلهم في الجنة. He knows their names. He knows the names of their fathers. He knows their status. He knows their place in Jannah. وَإِنَّهُ لَيَرَى مَنْ يَبْكِي عَلَيْهِ. He says Hussein knows who will shed tears for him tonight. فَيَسْتَغْفِرُ لَهُ. And specifically asks Allah, please forgive this person. he or she is crying for me. ويسأل جده وآباءه وأمه وأخاه أن يستغفروا للباكين على مصابه والمقيمين العزاء عليه. And then he will not only do this, he will ask his grandfather, he will ask his father, he will ask his brother, he will ask his mother, please, this person is crying for me. Do istighfar on his behalf. Allah. What a status for those who establish the majalis. Then the Imam concludes. He says, لو يعلم زائري والباكين على ماله من الأجر عند الله. If those who visit him and those who cry for him know their status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their happiness would be so much, yes, that they would indeed recognize that they have a special position in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they will leave the majalis, the Imam concludes, as if they have just been born by their mothers. Clean. Yes. Subhanallah. What a status for the establishment of the majalis of Hussain. A Shia of Hussain echoes the words of that great lady who defended Abu Abdullah in the most brilliant of ways. Yes, she said to the la'een, the tyrant of her time, فَكِدْ كَيْدَكْ وَسَعْ سَعْيَكْ وَنَاصِبْ جُهْدَكْ فَوَاللَّهِ لَا تَمْحُوا ذِكْرَنَا وَلَا تُمِيتُ وَحْيَنَا. You plot your ways, you try to deceive people. By Allah, you will never be able to stop our remembrance and our love in the hearts of the people. And that's the message that was resonating yesterday in Oman, in Muscat, and before that in Pakistan, and in Iraq, and in Syria, and in Afghanistan, and in every place around the world where the Shia of Hussain were blown into pieces. You can never stop the love of Abu Abdullah. And that's why on a night like this, these Sahaba of Imam Al-Hussain alayhi salam were seen smiling. They were embracing what was happening to them. They were delighted to go through this process of Shahada for Abu Abdullah and for the religion of Islam. One by one, they demonstrated their loyalty in the most beautiful of ways. And that's why on the day of Ashura, the riwayah says, when Imam alayhi salam stood all alone on the plains of Karbala. Take your hearts to Karbala tonight, wallah. Tonight your hearts are next to Abu Abdullah and next to Abu al-Fadl. We say to him, Ya Hussain, you are alone on the plains of Karbala on the day of Ashura, but Allah replaced that loneliness with hundreds of millions tonight, remembering your tragedy. When he looked towards his right, those Sahaba that he loved so much and had dedicated were all attained martyrdom. They had all gone. He looks at Zuhair, he looks at Habib, he looks at Burair, he looks at Abis. Then he looks towards his left and he sees the mutilated bodies of his family members. He looks at the body of Akbar and the body of Qasim, the body of Aun, the body of Muhammad. Then he raises his head towards the heavens and says, ألا هل من ناصر ينصرنا ألا هل من مغيث يغيثنا ألا هل من ذاب يذب عن حرم رسول الله. Is there anyone to help us? Is there anyone to defend us? Is there anyone to protect the sanctity of the Holy Prophet? The riwayat tell us that that moment he decided to go to the battlefield and fight. Because the story of Asghar starts with Imam wanting to go and fight. When he was about to go, he said, I want to bid farewell to my small baby, yes. I want to bid farewell to my Asghar. Bring me this young baby. The riwayah I saw said that on the 9th of Muharram, a day before, Sayyida Zainab was holding this baby, walking back and forth, trying to console the baby who was thirsty, yes. Trying to find any water. She asked, is there anyone who has any drops of water for this baby? They said, no, oh daughter of Ali, no, none of us has any water. When this baby was brought forward to Imam Al-Hussain alayhi salam, imagine that sight. The riwayah says the baby was either asleep or unconscious. 2 weeks now, after crying so much due to the thirst, due to the inability to have any water, Imam Al-Hussain alayhi salam holds his 6-month-old towards his chest, embraces the 6-month-old, kisses his neck, kisses his face. The riwayah says at that moment he is told, Yabna Rasulillah, why don't you ask these enemies? Maybe they will have an ounce of compassion in their heart. Maybe they will be able to feed this child some water. Aba Abdullah al-Hussein comes forward and he stands before those wretched individuals holding his baby Asghar. He looks at them and says, oh people, if we have done anything wrong, what is the fault of the children? Why don't you feed them any water? The riwayah says what? The riwayah says that Umar ibn Sa'ad looks at Harmala. He sees that the people began to dispute amongst themselves. One person says, let's feed the children. Another says, no, they are all from the same progeny. We must not show any compassion. There was now dissension in the camp of Yazid amongst the soldiers of Umar ibn Sa'ad. He becomes agitated. He looks at Harmala. He says, oh Harmala, اقطع نزاع القوم. Stop this discussion that's going on. Mukhtar catches Harmala later. He says to him, Harmala, tell me, what crimes did you commit on the day of Ashura? Which ones did you remember? He said, I remember being told by Umar ibn Sa'ad to kill that baby of Hussein. I remember holding an arrow, a 3-pronged arrow, and I looked at the baby being held by his father Hussein. At that moment I wondered, where shall I shoot? Which position shall I direct that arrow? He said, all of a sudden I saw the whiteness of his neck. I placed the arrow that's 3-pronged. This arrow is usually used to slaughter camels. It's a very big arrow, huh? He said, I looked at that baby. That moment I shot the arrow towards the baby. The baby at that moment was asleep. The moment the arrow reaches his throat, it enters from one side and exits from the other. He is woken up from the sleep. Now he flaps his hands like a bird that's been slaughtered. Imam al-Hussein holds the baby. His hands now is filled with the blood of Asghar. He throws the blood towards the heavens. There is not a single drop that comes back, Imam al-Baqir says. Then he hears the cries of the Malaika. Ya Hussein, your baby is now with us. We're nursing him. We're feeding him milk, oh Hussein. He says, هون ما نزل بي أنه بعين الله. Now what makes me deal with this calamity is that Allah is watching. Now he walks slowly. He has the baby under his abba, under his cloak. He sees Sayyida Zainab. I ask you, what do you say to Zainab? What do you say to the mother of the baby Rabab? How do you tell them the baby's been slaughtered? Sayyida Zainab looks at Imam al-Hussein. She sees that there is something under his cloak. All of a sudden she asks him, have they fed the baby water? There is no sound coming out. The baby seems resting. He seems peaceful. Imam al-Hussein takes the slaughtered Asghar out of his abba. Says, oh my sister Zainab, take my son madhbuh. Take my son slaughtered, for they have slaughtered him from one vein to another. I ask you, the mother of this 6-month-old of Asghar, did she bid farewell to her baby or not? So imagine that sight, that now she sees what? She sees the body of her baby. That night, that Sham Ghariba was difficult for the Shuhada's families, but especially this mother of the infant. Some of you sisters, that you are mothers to children, you know the pain that was in the heart of Rabab losing her beloved baby. She says that night, oh my baby, now that I can feed you, let me hear your cries. Let me feed you, my Asghar, my Asghar. Imagine that sight when Imam Zain al-Abidin is what? Has just finished the burial of Imam al-Hussein's body. The riwayah says that before he sealed the grave, he heard a cry. That cry came from within the grave. Which cry was it? That Imam said to him, oh my son Ali, bring me my baby and place it on my chest. Place my baby on my chest. We say to him, Ya Zain al-Abidin, when you placed the baby on the chest of Hussein, how did you find the baby, your brother? Yes. How did the sand of Karbala deal with his neck that was bruised? How did the soil of Karbala deal with his body that was lifeless? ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين وإنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. مات حسين يا حسين.
Oh my Asghar, where are you? Come, your mother is calling for you. Oh my Asghar, where are you? Come, your mother is calling for you. The skies are darkening, the desert is calling.